Today I'm reading from Steve Irwin, written by Nicole Bogue. This is our text for today. It's a great picture of him there. I'm going to start by reading from page 6 and I'll come back to the timeline after we've read here. Introduction. Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, was a brave man. He worked with some of the most deadly animals in the world. He was not afraid to get close to animals that most people fear, such as crocodiles, scorpions and snakes. People watched Steve on TV. They were amazed by the man who jumped into rivers with crocodiles. However, there was one animal that made Steve afraid. It was not the shark or the redback spider. Steve was afraid of parrots. It seemed strange that the famous crocodile hunter, whose job was to catch huge crocodiles, was scared of parrots. But Steve had a good reason for being a little afraid of them. When he was 4, his father's pet sulphur-crested cockatoo bit him badly on the nose. Steve was afraid of parrots for the rest of his life. Here's a quote from Steve. "I am a wildlife warrior and I will fight to the death for wildlife." There's another great picture of him. And the caption says, "Most people would be afraid to do Steve Irwin's job." Growing up Irwin style. Steve Irwin was born on his mother's birthday, February the 22nd, 1962, in Victoria, Australia. His father, Bob, was a plumber, but Bob's real passion was wildlife. He was most interested in animals such as lizards and snakes. These animals, with cold blood and scaly skin, are called reptiles. Herpetology is the word for the study of reptiles. Steve's mother, Lynn, loved wildlife too. She worked to help sick and hurt animals. Bob and Lynn gave Steve a 3.6 metre long python for his 6th birthday. He named the snake Fred. Steve was unable to play with Fred at first. His new pet was much bigger than he was. Fred probably thought Steve looked quite good to eat. In 1970, the Irwins moved to Queensland. Bob and Lynn realised their dreams and bought a 1.5 hectare piece of land in Beerwah. Later, they would open a small reptile park there. Steve worked with his father to prepare the park. They would travel into the Australian outback and spend weeks catching reptiles such as snakes, lizards and crocodiles. Steve grew up with crocodiles and other animals. He helped his parents build the park, feed the animals and doing chores. By the age of 9, Steve began handling crocodiles. Most 9-year-olds do not have chores like that, but even at this young age, Bob was teaching Steve to jump in rivers and catch crocodiles at night. Bob and Lynn opened the Beerwah Reptile Park in 1972. The price was just 50 cents for adult and 5 cents for children. There's a map that goes with that as well to show you where the park is. And I'm going to go back to the timeline. So the captions say, Steve Irwin is born. Steve gets his first reptile, a python, for his birthday. Beerwah Reptile Park opens. Steve finishes high school. Steve starts working for the East Coast Crocodile Management Program. Steve's parents give him ownership of the Beerwah Reptile Park. Steve marries Terry Rains. The Crocodile Hunter first appears on Australian TV. Steve and Terry's daughter Bindi Sue Irwin is born. Steve's mother Lynn dies. Steve establishes the Lynn Irwin Memorial Fund. Steve co-stars in Dr. Dolittle 2. Steve and Terry found wildlife warriors worldwide. Steve and Terry's son Robert Clarence Irwin is born. Steve receives Australian of the Year Award for Queensland. Steve Irwin is killed while filming off the Great Barrier Reef.